CanAlaska is a project generator that formed joint ventures with international Japanese and Korean mining companies, and it's currently working with Cameco and Denison at two of the company's properties in the eastern Athabasca Basin, which I've, as alluded to, is the world's greatest area for uranium exploration. Peter, please take the mic.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a rather hard act to follow there, but I'll do my very best. We're in the down part of a cycle, and I've got uranium and nickel that I'm going to tell you about. I think Pierre said to you, buy at the bottom part of the cycle. I've traveled all over Canada looking at mining projects. I'm a geologist. I love Saskatchewan and Manitoba. I love the opportunities that exist there, and here's an opportunity for you at the bottom of the cycle to buy into something that could be quite amazing. I'm going to talk about three things, but first there's a little bit of note about the difference between anticipation and prediction of the future, but there's plenty of upside in the uranium market. I think we're going to be on the right side of the next turn. I'm going to talk to you about three things that I want you to go away with, and one is pollution. The second thing is facts on nuclear. And the third thing is some valuations that you probably know nothing about in terms of uranium deposits in the world. CanAlaska has been very involved in uranium since 2004. After Fukushima, we got diverse. We moved into nickel, copper, and gold exploration. And a year ago, we did a deal with De Beers on diamond exploration, because there are a number of diamond targets in the area where we find uranium. Fukushima decimated our industry. We sat back. We saw the market change. But for CanAlaska, we laid off a staff of 35 people and went down to 3 part-time people and have survived this. We've got cash in the bank for another 2 years, and we only have 29 million shares issued. When we did that deal with De Beers last year on the diamond projects, our stock jumped from 30 cents to $1.50 in under 3 weeks. We're sitting here now with a major player in the uranium industry putting $12.5 million into an option on our property. We own that property 100%. We own the royalties on all our properties, and every property we've put out there, we've maintained a royalty. I think we're very well positioned for this next cycle. As I said, I've been a geologist in Canada for just on 40 years now. I came from New Zealand. I love Canada. I think it's amazing. I think the opportunities are phenomenal, but the opportunities in Manitoba and Saskatchewan are just as good. If you look at the deals that we've done, they have protected our shareholders from massive dilution over the years. About $50 million of major international mining companies' money has gone into our projects. That has reduced the issuance of shares, and our shareholders will stand to benefit if those things come to fruition. As a project generator, we've generated far more projects than we could ever run ourselves, but we have been selling those projects, and just last week we sold a zinc project and kept a 2% royalty. That zinc project had 21% zinc sitting in drill holes that we figured we couldn't do something with, but someone else could. We're operating in 2 of the best mining jurisdictions in the world, consistently in the top 5, just recently dropped down against Finland, but Manitoba and Saskatchewan are great places to work. We have security of tenure. We have giant world-class uranium deposits, and we have the 5th largest sulfide nickel belt in the whole world. Those are extremely important. You can't find a project and develop it over 1 or 2 years. You've got to have those 5 or 10 years, and that security of tenure is important. But it's also important to go to places where you have these giant opportunities, whether it's in potash in southern Saskatchewan, or uranium or copper or gold in Saskatchewan, or copper, gold or nickel in Manitoba. The uranium story is what's driven us. I think it's an extremely good business case. Pierre talked about powering up your car once you buy that electric car. We all want to have a Tesla, But you've got a 300 horsepower car being plugged into a 20 horsepower house. Where is that electricity going to come from? And I think China is leading the way, showing us that they are going to build out about 500 nuclear reactors. But if they have to match their green energy requirements, they're going to have to do closer to 900 nuclear reactors. This is a great business case to be in. We're going to have to find another giant uranium mine every year to run those nuclear power plants. But I said I'd talk about air pollution. Did you know that 1.5 million people die in China every year just from air pollution? There's many, many times that in India. And do you know that in 1952, the air pollution that descended on London here killed 12,000 people? A 4-day smog in here killed 12,000 people in 1952. That smog was caused by the coal-fired power stations in the London Basin and central London. They're all gone out of there now by 1956. So China has realized it, India's realized it, they need clean energy, they need clean power, and we have got to realize it because we're getting the after effects of all of that. What are the solutions? Running out of dams, we can put a lot more windmills out there, but a nuclear power plant takes a very small footprint. And here's a fact for you. That 1 kilogram of uranium will run that light bulb for 876 years. That 1 kilogram of coal will run that light bulb for 16 days. And gas, not much better, 27 days. And gas has 45% of the CO2 emissions that coal does. So we don't have a lot of solution, a lot of maneuvering. We're going to have to go to nuclear to make sure that we can breathe, make sure that our neighbours are breathing and we don't get their polluted air. And this here comes to the business case. Look at the uncovered demand of uranium, not only in the US, but also throughout Asia, and with the Arabs now building nuclear power plants. Look at the number of power plants that are going to be built in China and then double it again for the next 10 years after that. I think it's a great situation to be in. We're unloved at the moment. We're at the bottom of the cycle. No one wants to buy uranium. However, things changed. 2 weeks ago, Cameco hit a low of around about $11.20 or so. They're trading up now at $13 and $14. Look at that graph. That is a change. Cameco did a number of things to cut down supply, and the Kazakhs did a number of things to cut down supply. And in the next months, you're going to see the Kazakhs set up a marketing arm in Europe. They market 40% of the world's uranium. They're going to have a control on that price. They can set the price. Instead of being $21 at the moment, they can push those prices up. And I think we're just starting to see that happen. Now, to give you a little bit of information about Saskatchewan uranium mines. You may have heard people say they're very rich. You read Cameco's website, Cameco's mines are 100 times richer than any other uranium mines in the world. Look at that. You're looking at mines, even at today's $20 a pound, not $160 a pound uranium, but at $20 a pound, $15,000 a ton for the rock. Now, if you go to McArthur River, you find it's only about the size of a football field. It's a 1 million ton ore body running over 15% uranium. So that's like having a 1 million ton ore body that's running about 12 ounce per ton gold. And you're going to mine that 12 ounce per ton gold every day for the next 25 years. So in terms of numbers, these Saskatchewan mines are so strategic. They're one commodity producer. They produce uranium. At McArthur River, they mine 290 tons a day and produce 15% of the world's uranium every day. These are staggering numbers. The value in those mines, and that's what we're looking for. We figured there were more opportunities to find more, and so we're out there. CanAlaska has always been one of the largest landowners in the Athabasca Basin. We have an optionality on land. You heard Pierre talk about it. Every bit of our land we own 100%, and every deal we do, we keep a royalty on there. If you look at the Athabasca Basin, it looks pretty small, and those little postage stamps that are there. Well, the one down on the bottom is about the size of Greater London. The whole Athabasca Basin is 350 kilometres across. It's about the size of Switzerland. We had partners to help us do the work on these vast land positions. Until 2016, we had Mitsubishi Corporation assisting us. And they put in about $16 million into our project next door to that giant mine that Cameco has. And then we had Korean partners, which we bought out last year. They put in $20 million of work into their property. We did a deal with Cameco on our West MacArthur property last year, and they drilled the first hole and hit 5% uranium at the unconformity. A brand new discovery within 20 minutes of the headframe of their mine. I put on the Google image here along with some airborne geophysics. If it's blue, it's not conductive. If it's red, it's very conductive. But the red conductive zone there is about 4 kilometres long, and it's about 2 kilometres away from where Cameco just found another 68 million pounds of 8% uranium, and then went onto our property under a $12.5 million deal and drilled another 5% uranium. We've just drilled 6 more holes there. The market didn't quite like the results of those holes. I think they're amazing. Cameco's drill holes have shown that we have over 2.5 kilometres of mineralizing event happening there. And we're 20 minutes away from the huge infrastructure that's on the east side of the basin. Another image. This is the magnetic image. Again, geophysics laid over on the top of the geology. If it's red, it's highly magnetic. If it's blue, it's not magnetic. But you see a vast embayment in there, where the rocks have actually moved physically sideways and up and down. We can fit a 9-story building in the big offset that we see between those 2 drill holes with the little marks in there, and we could probably hide 2 or 3 MacArthur River type events in there. We're going for a Tier 1 discovery, and we got Canada's biggest uranium miner paying for it. We're right on their doorstep. I think our upside is huge, even in a down market, on a 29 million share company that's only worth $10 million at the moment. This project will drive us this year. In May, we'll get more results from Cameco. We'll get some indication of them going to stage 2, and then we will be able to go out there to tell the market really what's happening. This will be a key driver, because by December 31st, they have to say yay or nay. But we're not sitting still with just one project. We have this other one that we bought back from the Koreans last year. Again, a very large 20 by 30 kilometre piece of ground, 9 target areas in the middle of that, and we're going to go find a partner to help us to develop that one, because that's too compelling. It is right next to a large uranium mine. We haven't done any work on it in 7 years because no one wanted uranium, but the market is changing. If you look on that project and the square in the center, we've only worked on about 10% of the land. But we've got that land now for the next 19 years of assessment. We do not have to spend any money on that property for the next 19 years. We own it 100%. But I am quite sure we're going to find a partner very soon. Because if you look at this image and show it to a geophysicist, he'll show you the conductors and the target areas. And target areas A and B in the north there are quite stunning. If you look at target A for the length of that, that is almost a 2 kilometre strike length. The drill holes on this side are 800 metres apart. Yet as we go to the north on this section, we start to see more and more and more uranium in the sandstone, flooding everything in the sandstone. But on the left, you'll see all the nickel, the cobalt, and the molybdenum that's there telling us we have a target, and we go 300 metres into the basement there. A brilliant target. We own 100%. We're waiting for the market to change. So those 2 will keep us going, and 7 other projects which we've got ready for sale in the Athabasca Basin. But we didn't sit on our hands for the last 5 years. The Thompson Nickel Belt in central Manitoba is extremely important now that everyone's trying to find sulfide nickel for batteries. It's also really interesting that the nickel mine here, the smelter, they run 2.2% nickel, yet they have 0.2% cobalt in that ore. If you want to find a very large cobalt sulfide ore body, go to Thompson, Manitoba, because 0.2% out of 2.2% is very significant. We have another project to the north of that smelter, 2 projects to the north where $12 million worth of work was spent and nothing followed up on the airborne surveys. And then on the project on the very far left is near an old producing mine where we've got 15% nickel in drill holes in the ground. If you want to drive that Tesla, look where the electricity is coming from. On the bottom right, you're going to see what the effect is on battery demand on that nickel price. Sulfide nickel has moved significantly. Last week, it did the biggest jump in 10 years. A 10% jump in the price of nickel last week. Things are moving. And if you want to see those values, those 2 to 12% nickel values in that target that we acquired for nothing effectively, we staked it ourselves, these are very impressive. There's not only high-grade nickel, but very high-tenor nickel. I'm very happy to be in the nickel business. I'm also very happy to have a very strong political team and a strong technical team driving the company with us. Carl Scheeman drilled the very first hole into the Cigar Lake uranium deposit back in 1981. Victor Fern has been a Dene chief in the north and has been our director for 10 years now. Ambassador Thomas Graham did all the strategic arms deals for 5 U.S. presidents. And Kathleen Kennedy Townsend is a director of one of the largest funds in the U.S. She did her thesis on uranium, has a tremendous interest in what's going on. And John Luke is our finance man on the bottom end there. You can't do it on your own, you need a team. But a team can do this for you. In 4 years, NextGen created $1 billion worth of wealth on 200 million pounds of uranium. That's where you need to go. That's what you need to look at. And this was in a down market. This was at $20 to $30 uranium, not $150 uranium. You know, if the price went from $40 to $140 a pound, it makes 0.4 of a cent per kilowatt hour price difference in your electricity. And so, last but not least, we've got a graph that says we're totally unloved. We're not in the market. We're not doing the right thing. I think we are doing the right thing. We've got partners saying that we have a Tier 1 uranium discovery opportunity on our doorstep, and we could be the next NextGen. We have magnificent nickel projects that are ready to move forward as the nickel price moves on here. Current investment opportunity for you, a huge upside. Our company, as I said, went to $1.55 on the announcement of the De Beers deal on a diamond project. We'll bring that back next year. We've done our very best to tick the boxes for you. I'm here to tell you that we're available anytime over the next 3 hours from 3 o'clock onwards to discuss. I'm up in the Quebec room upstairs, so feel free to come by and see me. If you need to know anything on nuclear power, uranium, why we ended up with nuclear power plants designed the way they are, the politics of it, this book came out in September last year. Ambassador Graham, my chairman, wrote this book, easily obtainable on Amazon. Go research some facts and you'll thoroughly enjoy it. And finally, buy some CanAlaska. We're into nickel, we're into uranium, the cycle is changing. I think we've got a great opportunity for you, and I'm very happy to explain that to you. As I said, Quebec room upstairs for the next 2 hours.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.